Honourable Minister Abrams, Minister of Home Affairs, Information and Public Affairs, Mr. Sabu, Director Acting, Barbados Met Services, Mr. Stephen Leslie, Manager, Marketing and Communications, Barbados Cricket Association, Dr. Kenneth George, Chief Medical Officer, Ministry of Health and Wellness, representatives of ministries, departments, and other agencies, Department of Emergency Management staff, specially invited guests, media, online viewers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome. The Department of Emergency Management's mission is to coordinate a comprehensive disaster management system to ensure a more resilient Barbados through a consultative, proactive, and participatory process. The DM continues to promote comprehensive disaster management. Our programmatic focus and public outreach highlights how to manage the multiple hazards that can affect us, but equally important is the harnessing of the resources of the multiplicity of stakeholders to assist in disaster risk reduction efforts. We are committed to providing you with information throughout the season that will assist you in both your preparations and response. This month, the Department of Emergency Management rolls out our public awareness program with a heightened online presence featuring activities and programs targeted at various groups in society under the theme, Be Storm Ready, Prepare and Be Aware. I encourage your participation. As we usher in the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season, we must recognize the importance of ensuring that we are all prepared and ready to deal with any eventuality that may befall us this season. Collaboration and partnerships are critical in the preparation of, response, and recovery from hazard events that may cause displacement of our residents and visitors alike, in addition to disruption to our communities, businesses, and economy. It is recognized that the government cannot manage emergencies or disasters without the support of partners in the private sector, non-governmental organizations, community groups, faith-based organizations, and the general public. Hence, partnerships and collaboration are necessary in ensuring national readiness and preparedness. Across the national emergency management mechanism, stakeholders work together to improve our preparatory response and recovery activities. Hence, we are happy to welcome today a small microcosm of players to the table who contribute to the national readiness efforts. Our Minister of Home Affairs, Information and Public Affairs, who has responsibility for the disaster management portfolio, is present to address us as it relates to emergency management policy initiatives, the national level readiness efforts for the Atlantic hurricane season inter alia. I take this opportunity to remind Barbadians that it only takes one of these systems, making landfall to disrupt life as usual and render us to mount a response. As customary, the Barbados Met Services joins us to review last year's active season, as well as to relay the predictions and advice for this season. We have teamed up with a new partner, the Barbados Cricket Association. They joined with us this year to lend their voice and support to the national preparedness and readiness efforts. COVID-19 pandemic continues to affect us and those around the globe. As an emergency management system, we have incorporated COVID considerations in our preparations and response planning, modifying our plans and procedures, our standard operating procedures to reflect the realities of operating in a COVID-19 environment. Here with us today via Zoom to share the perspectives on the COVID-19 considerations, public health implications, and hurricane season preparations are our colleagues from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. I must point out that the first system, Tropical Storm Anna, was formed on May 22nd this year, making this, I believe, the 7th consecutive year that cyclone formation has occurred pre-season. With this in mind, simply the DM wants you to focus on the following: be storm ready, prepare and be aware, and most importantly, remain safe this season. Thank you. I take this opportunity to welcome our next speaker, Mr. Sabu, Director, Barbados Met Services.
Good morning to all. Good morning, Ms. Hinds, and good morning, Minister. It's a pleasure to be here again, year after year in the Met Service. As you clearly indicated, always been a player in this press briefing. I'm just going to give a brief presentation for the viewers and everyone here, so that we can actually have a look at the season in recap and what is basically forecasted for the 2021. So the 2020 season, the year 2020 saw the most active hurricane season on record, and it marked the 5th consecutive year of above average activity. And just an example of some of the records, there are 30 named tropical storms, 13 of which developed into hurricanes. 12 of them made landfall on the US coastlines. 6 major hurricanes, that is Cat 3 and above, it's another record. 2 tropical storms were formed in May before the start of the season. As Director Hinds indicated, already one has formed for May, so that record still remains unbroken for 2020. 10 storms were formed in the month of September. That is basically the most in any month on record. Apart from 2005, 2020 is the only year that the Greek letter names were used after exhausting the usual rotating list of names by September 18th last year. 2 major hurricanes, Eta and Iota, were formed in the month of November. Iota later developed into a Category 5, making it the strongest storm to occur in the late season. 2020 marked the 5th consecutive year of at least one Cat 5 hurricane. I'm just going to give you a brief run through of the names for 2021. We have the pronunciation. Anna is kind of grayed out because she's already developed and perished well north of the region. Next name is Bill, Claudette, and Danny, Elsa. I'm not going to go through the entire list. This list is actually available on the Barbados Met Service website, and I believe DM as well. You can find it on many websites, especially National Hurricane Center. There's something new that some of you have probably heard already, and that's the 2021 supplemental list of additional tropical storm names. As you can see, it starts back from A again. Basically, what happened last year, that unprecedented year 2020, we had a number of major hurricanes that were Greek alphabet letters. And Iota especially caused a lot of destruction in the southwestern Caribbean, or Central America rather. And it actually caused one of the Greek letters to be retired. And so there's this problem going forward, how do we replace a Greek letter in the alphabet when it's actually retired? And so to mix names in the Greek alphabet would be kind of confusing. And so it was decided by the Hurricane Committee this year to replace the Greek alphabet with a supplemental list. And so although it may seem confusing, we have 2 sets of names. When the first list of names is exhausted, we would just start back from letter A once again. And the sex, if I may say, of the cyclones will change over. This year it starts with a female, and I think the supplemental starts with a male, and it goes on and on right down to Will. So there won't be any Greek alphabet anymore. If this supplemental list is exhausted, I do believe they'll probably resort to another supplemental list. So I want to go back to what was actually forecasted years back, 2011 to 2020. Is important because I want to really emphasize something here of importance. In general, the forecast, these are forecasts from NOAA, tropical storm risks, etc. The purple line you see there is what actually happened. And you can see 2020 stands out. The purple line is almost twice as much as what was actually forecast from the best predictions that we had last year. And the reason I want to point this out to you is that even though the forecast in general can tell you if it's going to be an active, above average year, normal, below, you get some kind of idea, it is not going to be precise. And last year is one of the prime examples, but the point is we knew it was going to be above normal, and it was. And looking back at the forecast, I want viewers to understand that because it says it's going to be 30 or 22 or 17, that figure is just for guidance. It's a prediction, okay? And so last year was unprecedented. 30 storms. It just blew right open the forecast, etc., from the beginning of the season. Similar hurricanes forecasted as well. You see the purple line that's well above all the other projections in 2020. And you can see years before 2019, 2018, 2017, where the purple is actually above the predictions. Same also applies for major hurricanes. In this case for last year, even though it's a little closer in some cases, but when the season really gets really active, it's actually above the projections, actually. You can see the purple line for 2020 and 2017 above all the forecasts. So let's move on into actually what's being forecast for 2021. And we have forecasts from 4 players here. So on the left column, you see the climatological average, which is from 1981 to 2010. Named storms on average is 12, hurricanes 6 to 7, and major hurricanes, which is category 3 or higher, 2 to 3 hurricanes. This is every year, of course. So for 2020, we saw 30 named storms, 13 of which became hurricanes, and 6 of which became major hurricanes. And so the forecast for this year, as you can see, Colorado State is tropical storm risks, University of Arizona and NOAA generally in the high teens, 17 say to 20. Again, this is actually below the forecast of the 30, but remember last year was also around the same ballpark. And again, I just want to emphasize that these are forecasts not taken as gospel. It can easily be more on par or just slight. But the point is, it's going to be an active year, full stop. Hurricane forecast, the average is 6 to 7. And we're expecting around, all the players are basically forecasting roughly around 8 of them or so, which is also above average, the climatological average. And for major hurricanes, the average is 2 to 3. And again, all players in the forecast here are actually predicting above average in terms of major hurricanes for the year 2021. So the question is going to arise that why is it being so active? So there are two main factors that determine how active the season will be, and one is the status of the ENSO, or the El Nino Southern Oscillation, and the changes in the water temperature in the North Atlantic, which is the Atlantic Multidecadal 10-year Oscillation. This is for sure the second year that, even though we're in a neutral phase in terms of ENSO, we'll be progressing into a La Nina again by August, September or so, which makes the environment more conducive for tropical cyclone development. So this next slide, I'm not going to really go into detail on this because it doesn't really show the differences of what's going on right now. It's just sea surface temperature. But the one after, which is the anomaly, is of more importance because if you can see on the scale on the bottom of the map, it shows temperatures 1 to 2 above what's average. So anomaly is like the deviation for what's normal. And so basically the entire Atlantic is sea surface temperatures above normal, what it should be for the month of May. And that's kind of a really good indication initially in the forecast that the season is going to, start off pretty early, and it's going to be an active one as well. So this second one, or this last slide I'm going to show you is important because even though we're talking about tropical cyclones, last year we had a lot of significant rainfall events that caused a lot of flooding, and most of them were unrelated to tropical cyclones. And obviously we'd have had a lot of damage and stuff from these excessive rainfall events. And so going forward into this year, looking forward into this year, the forecast is for rains to actually pick up, particularly around late August and September, and in the latter part of the year as we move into La Nina. And so the map here shows some projections of what we forecast to actually happen in terms of excessive rainfall, and it really highlights, in particular, the central northern sections in the island this forecast. Now, this is not to say that the southern sections wouldn't be impacted by any flooding. It's just these predictions are more. It's actually indicating that it's more likely that you will have flooding, or higher probability, if you may, in the central and northern sections of the island. But it's not to rule out that you will get flooding itself. That will happen sometime in the year. Eventually, it will. So why we wanted to bring this up is because I was actually to calculate the number of flood events that we had last year, because it was really a lot. It was excessive, and we really want residents not only to be on the watch out or look out for tropical cyclones, but also to look out for these flood events. In particular, when we have these localized convective events, which can happen in quick time, in 30 minutes or less, you can have significant flooding, and it could be life-threatening flooding at that. We try our best to get messages out there as soon as possible, but we need all residents, visitors to remain really vigilant during that time. And that's basically it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bess, for that presentation, for discussing the 2021 prognosis and giving some words of advice to the Barbadian public. I now invite Mr. Stephen Leslie, Manager, Marketing and Communications, the Barbados Cricket Association, to give some brief remarks.
Thank you very much, Kerry. I want to acknowledge the presence of all the other members on the head table. 2020 into 2021 pose a series of challenges for all Barbadians. Certainly, a lot of us had to be displaced. We had the advent of COVID-19, which caused the country to close down in March of 2020. And it impacted significantly the role that the Barbados Cricket Association plays on an annual basis, which is to really pull together walks of life for all the men and women in this country to be able to play organized cricket on the island. What actually happened a few months ago was not just a displacement, but organizations like the BCA had to actually determine how can we remodel and retool to be able to be relevant within the current modern day Barbados. So it was very exciting when I approached Kerry here at DEM and also spoke to officials at SEDEMA to say to them that we are going to bring some of our young contemporary cricketers and have them part of a message, a campaign, which would allow everyone to be aware that they need to keep safe and be prepared for this season. Initially, we have identified young Craig Bradford, who's the current West Indies Test captain, Mr. Jason Holder, who you know served very well for a number of years in that capacity, and our star one-day international batsman in Shea Ho. And these three young men, different parts of the globe, clearly were excited to be part of this initial campaign. And certainly after my brief remarks, you will have an opportunity to see a very short message from each of those young men. What are we hoping to do with this partnership? The sky is the limit. We believe that using young identifiable cricketers, you can use musicians, you can use a number of public figures, but certainly the fact that young people and those in the middle age, men and women, can identify with these young people and be able to be part of a very important message. The message is that for 2021, we all want persons to be safe and to be prepared. So I want to again thank Kerry for inviting us at the BCA to be part of this very important exercise. And we are hoping that this season is one that everyone can be very much taking care of themselves and their neighbors as we press on for this year and beyond. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Jason Holder, and one can never predict when the next hazard or natural disaster may affect us, but we can all play our part to be ready for the unknown. I encourage everyone to be prepared and keep safe as we continue to navigate these uncertain times in the Caribbean. Let us remember that our lives could depend on it.
The Barbados Cricket Association is pleased to partner with SEDEMA and DEM in this truly important venture.
Hey everyone, my name is Bradford. Playing international cricket and representing the region has always been a childhood dream. Hard work and discipline are some key aspects to success. As we approach the new hurricane season, it is important to take personal responsibility to safeguard our family and loved ones. Be prepared and keep safe.
The Barbados Cricket Association is pleased to partner with SEDEMA and DEM in this truly important venture.
Hi everyone, Shea Hope here. Trust me when I say it takes a lot of dedication and hard work to enjoy success in life. Before any battle, it's important to make smart choices, plan well, and remain focused on what matters most. The upcoming weeks and months with hurricanes may be uncertain, but we can do our best to come out on top. Let us all be prepared and keep safe.
The Barbados Cricket Association is pleased to partner with SEDEMA and DEM in this truly important venture.
Thanks so much for that, Mr. Leslie. Who would have thought cricket and hurricane preparedness? Maybe an unlikely match, but I hope that would encourage all persons across the island to get on board and really assist in this preparedness program. The next speaker, Dr. Kenneth George, Chief Medical Officer, Ministry of Health and Wellness. Ministry, as we all know, the COVID-19 is still impacting our shores. And this morning, I'm happy to welcome Dr. George to give a few remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for allowing the Ministry of Health to participate in this very important meeting, the launch of proceedings that coincide with the 2021 hurricane season. As you may know, all predictions are it's going to be a very active season, and we need to be prepared. On this occasion, please recall that we are in a COVID environment, and therefore we have to take our responsibilities with respect to healthcare in making sure that during any natural disaster that COVID is not spread, and that we take care and save lives and limbs of persons who may be affected. The Ministry of Health has started its process in earnest. We are responsible for two committees. One committee is an internal committee, and the other committee is a health services standing committee, which the CMO chairs. One of the health services standing committee has already started its work. We have had one good collective meeting involving the Barbados Water Authority, the Barbados Defense Force, the St. John's Ambulance Brigade, among others. And that meeting was held about a week and a half ago to get a better understanding of what are the allied health sectors that caucus with health during the time of a hurricane or a natural disaster. The Ministry of Health also has significant responsibility in making sure that our physical plants and our operations are understood by all persons involved. So, for example, the Queen Elizabeth Hospital is involved, the geriatric hospitals, the psychiatric hospital, and also our polyclinics. They have all commenced their work with respect to their disaster preparedness plans. they have been asked to make sure that every officer from the head of the organization to the persons who work in the organization understand their role and function during a natural disaster. As I said, this is a difficult time for us because we are undergoing a COVID pandemic. Fortunately, within the last 2 to 3 days, our positivity rate has been trending downward even further, which we are very, very happy about. But it is not a time to become complacent. So therefore, we urge all Barbadians, first, understand what you can do at a personal level with respect to making sure that your families and households are safe. Understand where your shelters are so that if that is necessary, you can proceed to the shelter and you know where you can ride out a potential storm. You make sure that all your equipment and supplies at home are up to date and in order to make sure that you are prepared for the season. The Ministry of Health is here to hold your hand and to try to assist wherever possible. As I said, we are steps ahead in our game. The Queen Elizabeth Hospital now has a 50,000 gallon tank, which is new and is in commission, and that can serve for several days after a hurricane strikes. Our generating capacity in our polyclinics is up to par. Our water storage capacities have been reviewed and they are satisfactory. So therefore, we will continue to work with all sectors involved to make sure that when called upon, the Ministry of Health can respond in a very timely manner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. George, for your words of advice and also reviewing what the health sector has done with respect to its preparedness and readiness efforts. I now welcome the Honourable Wilfred Abrams to give his feature remarks.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome your presence at this press conference today, the 1st of June, which is the official start of the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season, though it seems to have started already without our consent. I acknowledge the presence of various stakeholders who are here today and who continue to actively contribute to our readiness, and I want to welcome the Barbados Cricket Association as one of those stakeholders. Last year, we witnessed the most active hurricane season on record with 30 named systems. Interestingly, my full name is Wilfred Arthur Abrams. And last year, hurricane season, I will never forget it because the first named storm was Arthur, which is my middle name. And the last named storm, before they moved on to the Greek alphabet, was Wilfred. And then they ran out of my names and moved on to Greek, and I had to retire some. So believe me, I will never forget the 2020 hurricane season. But while we in Barbados did not receive a direct hit, we did have smaller scale rainfall events which caused some level of damage, discomfort, and displacement, requiring us to respond within communities to affected persons. The presence of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has added some new complexity to the management of responses at the national level. Just recently, in April of this year, we were also significantly impacted by ashfall as a result of the eruption of the La Soufrière volcano in St. Vincent, which warranted our emergency response system to mobilize resources to deal with the assessment of damage, extensive cleanups, and all this while supporting St. Vincent and the Grenadines with emergency relief supplies and resources. Similarly, to the last few years, we are again this year dealing with drought conditions, which have contributed to reduced water supply and persistent water outages in a number of parishes, Sabu earlier spoke about the water situation and the fact that we're expecting some flooding, which we get at some point in time every single year. But the rainfall, while sometimes it comes on a deluge, is not consistent enough to recharge our aquifers. So as we prepare for the hurricane season, we also still have to be conscious of the ongoing cry for us to conserve water because we are a water scarce country. But for anybody who is watching, it is apparent that Barbados has been in a constant state of response, dealing with hazard after hazard for an extended period. To ensure national level operational readiness to respond to hazard events that we may experience in this 2021 hurricane season, the government, through the National Emergency Management System, continues to undertake our preparedness, readiness, and coordination activities. The reality is that eventually we will have a significant weather event in Barbados, and each year the odds of this happening get greater and greater. Transboundary hydrometeorological phenomena like tropical storms define a particular subset of threats where preparedness and a constant state of operational readiness are crucial. In English, that means that because of the nature of the hurricane season, we can't get ready for June the 1st and then stop and relax because we're ready. We have to get ready and remain ready and adjust our readiness pattern to everything that develops. So from the beginning of the hurricane season until the end of the hurricane season, we have to be in a heightened and constant state of readiness, and this is not a comfortable position to be in. COVID-19 is still affecting us as a society. Our national operation procedures consider this fact, and as such, reflect COVID considerations, focusing on ensuring the safety of you, the public, and the safety of our first responders and operational personnel. We continue to refine and synchronize plans and procedures at the national level to upgrade our critical infrastructure to make it more resilient to hazards, to train and sensitize our emergency response team, to conduct preparedness actions such as cleaning up and clearing of waterways and drains, trimming foliage, undertaking flood mitigation works, and readying our shelters, among others. As well, we interface with the regional and international stakeholders such as SEDEMA, the RSS, the UN, to ensure that they're available to support any national level response as required. The 30 district emergency organizations are also readying themselves, along with other community response organizations. They're readying themselves and they're readying the communities in which they operate for this season. We ask that stakeholders at all levels play their part in the national preparedness effort. Sabu referred to this, I think the director referred to this, that government cannot do this one alone. We call on you, the citizens, to carry out your individual, household, and community planning and to prepare yourselves in an attempt to reduce any impact that a hazard may have on your community. We must not forget that although if we are impacted, we feel it on an individual level, that these hazards don't just affect individuals, they affect communities. And by mounting a coherent, cohesive, and collective community response, this goes a long way in assisting communities and by extension the country when recovering quickly from any impact. We are fond of saying God is a Bajan. And from time to time, almost every year, Barbados gets spared the worst of the natural disasters that have devastated others in the region. A lot of Bajans feel a hurricane will never hit us. When the Met Office issues its predictions and shows the tracking, a lot of us take the position it is going to turn, it is going to miss us. In this season, complacency is our enemy. There is no room for complacency in this hurricane season. We have to get ourselves ready and we have to remain ready until the end of the hurricane season. I'm asking you to please pay attention to the information and tips from the Barbados Government Information Service, the Public Affairs Department, and the Office of the Prime Minister, as well as our legitimate and credible partners to keep yourselves informed and prepared. As Kerry said, we have already started the public awareness campaign, and you're going to see more and more tips coming out. These are not being done for our benefit. They're being done for yours. So I ask you please to heed them and to pay attention to the legitimate media sources so that you know what is happening and you can put yourself in the best position to minimize any impact that any disaster may have on you. We pray that Barbados will not be subject to any devastating impact this hurricane season. But in the event that we are affected, we as a country are ready and prepared to respond and to recover. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister, for those words of encouragement and encouraging the general public and all the stakeholders in the national system to be in a constant state of readiness. We acknowledge that last year's season was heightened, and although we did not have direct hit from any of the systems, we did experience those smaller events in terms of the excessive rainfall events. As you would have heard from Minister, he has encouraged you not to be complacent and pay attention to the media, be ready, be prepared, and stay safe. I would like to thank the entire panel this morning for their remarks and words of encouragement and advice to the general public, and also those were explaining to the viewers what we have put in place, what we continue to put in place to ensure that we are ready nationally. I take this opportunity now to open the floor for any questions from the media.
Hi, I'm Carlos Atwell from the Nation newspaper. Just want to get an idea of how ready the shelters are. The state that they're in terms of repair and readiness for the upcoming hurricane season.
Thanks, Mr. Atwell, for the question. Just to indicate to our viewers and listeners, this year we have 33 Category 1 shelters and 58 Category 2 shelters. And just to remind you that the Category 1s, you can go in before the event. As it relates, we would have carried out a number of audits earlier in the year and done retrofitting of the various shelters early in the year, earlier in the first quarter of the year. And as a result, we have the 33 Category 1s and the 58 Category 2 shelters. And the complement, taking into consideration the social and physical distancing that we have to adhere to within the shelters, the complement of persons that can enter the Category 1 shelters are 2,843 persons, and the complement for the Category 2 shelters is 3,066 persons. We also encourage persons to retrofit your homes because your homes are your first refuge, first choice of refuge. But we do acknowledge that as a government, we have to ensure that we have shelters at the disposal of the public as is required.
If I may, Director.
Madam Deal, all is ready for the systems. Is all ready, everything ready for the No, I was asking if all the shelters are in a state. Yeah, no, just asking if all the centers are in a repair state. They're ready to go as we speak.
Yes, the shelters that have been identified for the 2021 season, they are in a state of readiness.
All right, if I may, I don't know how many people have actually seen or read this booklet, the Department of Emergency Management, Emergency Shelters 2021. This booklet has been fine-tuned, I guess, over the years, and is an exceedingly comprehensive how-to guide to preparation. It talks about the documents that you need to secure. It reminds people of the important documents that you need to walk with you. It reminds people to walk with the medication. It reminds people how much water to store. It gives people advice as to what to do with their pets. I mean, it is an exceedingly comprehensive document. We have it in printed form, and I believe, Kerry, we have it electronically as well. Yeah. We are going to push this through GIS and Public Affairs and ask as many people to host it on their websites as possible. And I urge all Barbadians to have a read of it. We see this, and a lot of people take it and put it in their offices and put it on the coffee table. But sit down and open the booklet and read it. The information in here may help to save your life or save somebody else's lives. It will definitely focus your mind on the things that you need to remember, and in the event of a disaster, the things you need to grab as you're trying to get out of your house. So I'm going to ask everybody, please have a read of this booklet. We're going to make it available.
Yes, please. Regarding about the ash fall, ash is still here in Barbados. Is there any concern the ash may clog up our drainage system? So, which would be a problem when, of course, heavy rainfall comes during the hurricane season.
I'll take that. As you're aware, the government has been having a very extensive ash cleanup campaign. We're not just removing the ash off the road, we're also inspecting wells to get any sediment that has gone into the wells out of them. We are flushing and cleaning all of the drains around Barbados. So we are very aware and very conscious of the ash. I don't think you've probably ever seen this comprehensive a cleanup campaign in Barbados in such a short space of time. All resources were thrown behind this. So the ash is going to be there for a while. As people cut fields, the ash is going to blow. The heavy rainfall, Sabu advises me, are probably what are eventually going to just drive the ash finally into the soil. But until those come, then we are continuing our plan to make Barbados as resilient and ready as possible. And that does involve a comprehensive clean of all the drains, and even the box drains. So yes, Carlos, rest assured that that is top of mind for us, and we're trying to get that dealt with as quickly as possible. I was telling Kerry, there used to be a phrase saying, before the high winds come. So I'm going to adapt that slightly and say we're trying to get this ash sorted out, done and dusted, before the heavy rains come.
Thanks to the media for your questions as it relates to the Atlantic hurricane season and our readiness as a country. I wish to take this opportunity to thank all of the persons at the head table this morning for participating in our annual press conference. It is the first in a number of activities that the Department of Emergency Management has in store for the public, and activities that will give you useful information that can guide your planning and response efforts throughout the season. So thanks once again to everyone. And as I indicated before, we simply want you to be storm ready, prepare and be aware, and remain safe. Thank you.